Hello and welcome back to another week of Open Mic Night. We have two guests with us today, and we're going to be talking about a lot of fun topics like the iCloud hack and also some YouTube as a platform and some fun topics with two other YouTube guests, and I'll introduce them after this, but let's just go ahead and get on started. All right, so welcome back to Open Mic Night. So glad you guys made it back. Again, this is a product of WegerTech.com. My name is Mike Weger. I am your host, and I do this show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. So come on out and join us live over at WegerTech.com/live. Like I said, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. And usually what I do is I cover kind of the news of the week and give you guys some tips and things like that. But on certain occasions, I want to do something special. And this week is one of those weeks. And so this week I have two guests with me. One is Mr. Troy Bradshaw, and the other is Jacob Williams. So I guess we'll start with you, Troy. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Cybersecurity major, gingitech.com or gingy.tv or gingy.com, or basically where I'm mostly at is just youtube.com/gingitechnology, and I make videos similar to Mike and not really similar to Jake, but in the same realm of tech. So go check out the channel and hope to be back on the show soon.
Yeah, he makes really good, I love all your tech videos, and you were doing some giveaways recently and stuff like that. So great content over there, so go out and check those out. And the next guest is Jacob Williams. Now, he's not joining us on video, he is only audio. But, hey, Jacob, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good. Well, I run a channel called Wild Academy on YouTube, and I do tech tutorials and software development. So you can check me out at wildacademy.com.
What kind of software are you covering?
I'm currently teaching Ruby programming right now.
Perfect, perfect. All right. So I brought these two guests in tonight, and what I want to do is kind of get a roundtable discussion. Usually for you guys who have watched Open Mic Nights before, it's just me giving you what I think. And so this week is something different. I wanted to bring in two other people just to kind of give you their perspectives, because I guarantee they will be a lot different than mine, but that's what makes it fun. That's what makes this tech industry so interesting, is that everyone has their own opinion. But to start off, we're going to kind of start with a news story, but it's also kind of, it fits in great with what Troy is, with a cybersecurity major. We're going to talk about the iCloud leak. Now, maybe you guys heard over the weekend, it might have been yesterday, I'm not sure, they actually had celebrity photos, and this being a family-friendly show, we'll just say not nice photos of certain celebrities that were leaked from their iCloud account, supposedly. That's not 100% sure yet, but Apple kind of said, they said they're looking into it, but basically what it looks like is that people like Jennifer Lawrence, their private iCloud account was hacked, and someone went in and posted all of these very, very private photos out on the internet. Now, Jacob, it was you that brought this story to my attention, so is there anything that you kind of wanted to add to that?
Well, I'm sure everybody's heard of it by now, but yeah, I think that this is super serious. I don't think people are actually taking it serious enough. And what it reminds me of is well, I don't know that it reminds me of it, but if you haven't heard the hackers from, what's the name of the company? Loft Heavy Industries. They testified back in May of 1998. And they were on C-SPAN, and basically they testified to the United States Senate about software industries not being reliable for some of their security breaches. And this was the first time that the hacker community actually, this was the first time that the government actually brought in the hacker community and said, okay, what are our problems? And I don't know if you remember that time, but it was a huge issue that one of the things that they said was that they could take down the entire internet in under 30 minutes, any one of those hackers that were part of that group. So what I think you should do is maybe put a link to the actual video. It's about an hour long, but it's really it's kind of eerie, but it also kind of shines some light on this serious issue. I think Apple and anyone involved should be held reliable for something like this.
Yeah, I'll definitely get that link from you, and I'll put that down in the show notes for those of you guys who are watching later. I'll have that down in the description below. But I actually I didn't remember that. But I agree. It's something that needs to be taken seriously. I think the fact that the photos that were leaked, that, since they were of celebrities, we all kind of focused on that aspect of it. And that's the reason it was getting a lot of web traffic. But really, there's a kind of a bigger issue behind it, that the whole iCloud platform that a lot of us use. I mean, if you guys have an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac, I'm pretty sure you guys use iCloud. It's on by default and stuff like that. And if you have an iTunes account, you have an iCloud account. They're all in one. And so I think it's something that needs to be taken seriously. Troy, I'm interested to hear your perspective and what you think on, how big of an issue it is, just because, it is your major and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we haven't even talked about that yet in class, but from what I've read, it's actually no one knows exactly where the photos were leaked from. People are thinking it's iCloud, but it's kind of highly unlikely, in my opinion. I don't think Apple got compromised in any way or shape or form. There were multiple stories, if I read word for word, that hackers may have obtained a cache of private celebrity images by exploiting weaknesses in an online image storing platform. Not sure which platform they would be kind of alluding to, but highly doubt it's anything to do with Apple whatsoever. But the easy fix around this is, don't take sexy photos of yourself, like in the first place. But I don't know. It's just kind of it's interesting. But anything you put online can get compromised, so just kind of be smart about it.
Well, and that's what I think, kind of the big takeaway, I guess, if you're not really into cybersecurity, if you don't want to look into the big details, is exactly what Troy said. Be careful what you have on your phone and know where your stuff is being synced to. Be careful of, automatic uploads to, let's say, Dropbox, or even my Google Plus automatically uploads my photos. And just be careful of that sort of stuff and know that it's not safe. But, Jacob, do you think it was iCloud that was hacked or not?
I know that GitHub recently had, there was issue brought up on Git that the Find My iPhone app had some security vulnerabilities within it, and that you could get in through those vulnerabilities and actually do a brute force attack, just guessing passcodes over and over and over again. And I think that Apple will probably be held reliable by not having protections against a brute force attack of that nature. So yes, especially since it was brought up and then it wasn't patched right away by Apple, and they should have been made aware of it. I'm sure that there's an email sitting unopened on the right desk.
Well, and I think we kind of hold Apple in this high regard. We kind of consider them a company that can really do no wrong. Some of us like their products, some of us don't. But I think a lot of people think of them as with the Steve Jobs and everything like that, they're just such a great company. And if this had been maybe Microsoft or someone like that, I think we would have gotten a lot more maybe outrage from the community. But I think a lot of people, and even kind of how you see that we're talking about it is, who knows if it's Apple, who doesn't. But I think that's because of the reputation that Apple has. And they've had an okay track record, better than other companies, not perfect, but better than other companies. But that's also coming from a big Apple fanboy. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But yeah. So if you guys want to know more about that kind of whole story, and I'm sure over the next week we're going to hear more. I'm sure more details are going to come out. We're still getting this on, really kind of. When did the story launch? Yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday. And I just wanted to add something. A lot of people, their attitude is that you shouldn't be taking pictures if you don't want anybody to see them. And I think that that's kind of the wrong approach. I don't really like the idea that people say, well, that's just how the world is now. We create laws and we have rules to stop things like this from happening. And so that we actually do need to address this issue, and I hope that it becomes the main issue over the next year that we cover, because privacy is a huge issue. I mean, let's just think about all the things that any one of the three of us have posted on YouTube, even publicly, just within the comments, right? If we just post something within the comments 3 years ago, our opinions change over time. So the thing I've heard is that this isn't the right to privacy, but we should have the right to forgiveness, and we should be able to go in and know what we've said in the past. Because somebody reads something that I wrote 3 years ago, or sees a picture that I took 5 years ago doing some behavior that I no longer am into anymore, then how does that really paint me? And so we need to really take this seriously, and I wish that more people would stop saying, hey, don't take those pictures unless you want them to be seen, because that's unethical, honestly. And to say that just it's human nature, I don't really buy that argument at all.
Troy, you're giggling over there. Got some.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree. I mean, for girls it's a little more sensitive. For dudes, it's just kind of like whatever. But like I accept the risk whenever I even put my credit card through Amazon. I mean, it's just you can't change it. No matter how many laws you put there, I've broken laws. We've all broken laws. I mean, yeah, you can try and enforce it. You can keep pushing it. I'm gonna push back. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's gonna be times where I'll do this or do that. You can enforce tons of security in a mall. Doesn't mean you're gonna stop the little hooligans from stealing that beanie. I mean, it's still gonna happen. I mean, like you can do it like what Jake said. You can take it seriously, which we are doing all the time. Hence my major. I mean, it's a freaking major now, but it's never gonna stop. I mean, accepting theft and kind of penetrations and all that kind of stuff is just kind of a fact of life now. So I mean, just gotta accept it really.
Well, you bring up a good point about theft because it's not just an issue about privacy. If people say, well, some of these women make erotic photos and sell these erotic photos themselves, that's fine. That's one aspect of it. But what you're really stealing is their content. You're stealing their product because something is getting out there of them posing for somebody else, not something that's meant to be public. So let's say that I create a tutorial series that is a premium paid tutorial series, and then that entire series gets put online for everybody else to take advantage of, then that's stealing from me, regardless of whether or not I'm actually putting a series of me just making these erotic poses. It's the fact that celebrities, even porn stars, even if porn stars get their phones hacked and people see those images are not meant to be stolen. Same with music recording artists. And so people need to have more control over their content, and we need to make laws to protect it. Otherwise, everybody who's creating everything, everybody who's doing all this work isn't going to be fairly compensated. And the value of the content that everybody creates, right? Like the Pixar movies. I enjoy Pixar movies, and I want to keep watching and seeing new Pixar movies. But if there's not a profit to be made, then it's going to be really hard for Pixar movies to be created.
I would agree. And this kind of brings up a different issue that I talked about over the summer, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but it's the right to be forgotten, and it was going on in the EU courts, actually over in Europe, and basically what it entails is, what started it was a gentleman had I believe it was he had gone bankrupt. He had a lot of debts that were unpaid and stuff like that, and this was a long time ago, and now when he went to go, get a new house, they looked it up and they're finding all these articles about him when he had all these debts. Well, in these past 30 years, he's been forgiven. He's paid back all of his debts. He's good now. And basically what it comes down to is over there they ruled that you have the right to be forgotten. And so you can go to Google and say, hey, Google, this is outdated information. It's misleading. It's no longer true. I want the link to this content removed. And Google and all the other search engines were forced to remove those links. Now the content's not gone, but the links to that content is no longer there. And so when you said, kind of, do you have the right, to be private? Do you have the right to be forgotten? Over in Europe, they're dealing with this thing, exactly. And so I think it's interesting, and I do think the laws are going to happen. I mean, we just saw kind of when we read the articles about this iCloud hack, we saw that people have been going to jail for up to 10 years for doing these sorts of crimes. But do you think it needs to be worse than that, or do you think the laws are starting to catch up with us?
10 years is a long time. I mean,
it's a really long time. I would agree.
Yeah, 10 years is a long time, and like I said, this needs to be put on the software companies. This needs to be their responsibility. Think about, like, if you buy a lemon from a car, right? Lemon laws that are created, and you buy a car that, or if there is an issue that they find in the brake lines, right? They don't just keep it quiet. They actually send out letters saying, by law, they send out letters saying, you have to bring your car in so that we can replace this brake line or whatever issues that you have. If the clutch goes out at a certain, 70,000 miles per hour or something that isn't an industry standard, then they need to be held reliable for it. And if you present when somebody is taking a photo of themselves on their iPhone, their assumption is not that it's going to be made public. They assume, and Apple knows that they assume, that those pictures are going to be only for them to consume. Now, there is the possibility somebody's going to break into their house and steal the iPhone, but there's no assumption that all of these photos and images are going to be spread out all throughout the world for everybody to look at and take advantage of. What you take away from somebody else, like if I think that celebrities shouldn't have any privacy because they're celebrities, what I'm doing is I'm setting up a world where that if I were to ever become a celebrity myself, then I wouldn't be entitled to those privacies myself because I didn't respect those privacies or try and protect those privacies back before I was.
And I would agree. And just like you said earlier, we shouldn't have to assume that everything's going to be on the internet. Now, I think it's a good way of looking at the internet to say, okay, I know that this stuff can be stolen and put out there, but I think it shouldn't be used as an excuse for allowing people to go in and take this information and not be punished. So I think it might be a good way to teach young kids how to use the internet, because with the way Facebook's going, by default, a lot of our stuff is public and we don't know it. Now, in the case you were just describing, when we're taking pictures of ourselves on our phones, yes, we expect that to be private. So maybe it's just a good way to think about the internet, but definitely not an excuse for these people to be able to get away with it, maybe. Now, there is one comment in the chat room that I wanted to talk to you guys about. It's actually a really good idea. Okay, so when someone is taking a photograph in a park, I think I'm kind of paraphrasing what this person's saying, and they take a picture of you. Is that your property? Is my face my copyright? So if they take a picture of me, do I have the right to own that image, or do they have the right to take that photo? What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, you see the paparazzi doing that all the time with celebrities. I mean, the laws, I mean, how I think I'd see them is, you know, your camera, you're out in public, you know, you can do what you want, but I mean...
I would agree that the whole being out in public thing probably changes the fact, but what's interesting is...
Gingy's correct about the camera thing. That's the other issue, is that when somebody's hacking into your iPhone and stealing your photos, they're stealing from your camera. And so, yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, it's like mugging. What if somebody mugged the paparazzi, stole their camera, and then stole those images? I think that would be wrong and illegal. So,
the one thing I've run into, though, okay, so when I played on sports teams, when I played lacrosse in college, there would oftentimes be photographers there taking photos of us playing and then sending us a link after we're done with the game saying, hey, you can buy your photos here. Now, if I see a photo that someone took of me playing the game, sometimes I have trouble paying for that. I'm like, well, it's a picture of me. The photo's of me. I didn't pay you initially to even be here. You're just someone who's trying to sell this photo. Do you guys think you have a right to that photo because it's of you? Anything?
Go, Gingy.
I honestly don't know. That's kind of a conundrum because, I mean, then you get into like high school, for example. I mean, they take pictures of you all the time just for your school ID and stuff. I mean, and they have it in their network and their database, and they have it all over the place. And it's not really your property anymore. I mean, because you attend the institution, now it's their property. But I mean, right. I know Jake would go crazy over anything to do with the school doing a picture. So.
Well, I think one thing it has to do with too is am I consenting to this photo? A lot of times for those sports ones, I guess being out in public is consent. Do we consider being in public consent? Because I didn't tell that photographer it's okay for you to take my photo before the game, but is just the mere fact that we're in public, does that mean that, you know, we consent to their photos? And this will be interesting because I'm actually I'm in law school right now, and so I'll be going over all that copyright, that sort of stuff, and I'll be interested to see what kind of arguments you could make if someone did take your photo and you wanted it either. The interesting thing would be if you wanted it taken down, not if you wanted to buy it, but if you said, hey, that's not a photo I want out there being sold. That would be the interesting thing. But yeah, great question in the chat room. So keep those coming in the chat room. Glad to have you guys here. Keep those questions coming. Again, I want to kind of, if you guys are just hopping in live, we have Troy Bradshaw, a.k.a. Gingy Tech, and Jacob Williams from Wild Academy here. They are joining me live tonight to just talk about some stuff. All right, so was there anything else you guys want to say about that, or should we move on?
We can move on, that's fine.
Okay, so the next kind of topic I want to talk about is I wanted to take advantage of having these two YouTube guys on the show, because obviously you guys know all of my content is on YouTube, but what I wanted to talk to them about is how people use YouTube maybe as a platform, and what are the effective ways of using YouTube, what are the negatives to YouTube, kind of the ins and outs. I know a lot of people that email me are people that are looking to get into either starting a podcast or looking to get into making YouTube content, and they have questions for me that honestly I can't answer. But I know, Jacob, you put a lot of time into your kind of analytics, looking at stuff and figuring out ways to kind of boost your numbers and figure out all the ins and outs of YouTube. And maybe I'll start with you. Basically, just give me your impression of YouTube, and then maybe how you use it, and maybe how that's different than the average YouTube user.
Yeah, I approach YouTube as kind of a numbers game, and I approach it as a long-term strategy. I don't know if that's the right word, but I approach it as a business endeavor. And so every time I upload something, I think about how is this going to affect the channel overall, and I try and make it professional. So the better way to explain it is I treat it as a resume, right? An online resume, so that if anybody were to ever come to my channel, they could know everything they want to know about me.
That's interesting.
Right.
Okay. Well, I've never actually heard anyone say that before. Well, and if you think about it, now that I'm starting to think of my channel in that way, I guess it is. I have a lot of content out there, and it's all kind of basically describes me. If someone watched all my videos, they would know a lot about me. But I never thought of it in that way before. Gingy, what about you? And I just realized I called you Gingy. Troy, what? Gingy Tech, Troy, however you want to be.
People actually ask me if that's my name. Like, is your name really Gingy? And
I think when I first met you, I was like, so is that really your name, or?
No.
Yeah.
I'd get made fun of way too much if that was my name.
That would be a mean trick by your parents for sure.
Oh, for sure. I kind of view it, like Jake said, kind of almost like a resume, but I think of it more as a portfolio in a way. Because it's more than just my YouTube channel that I'm going to be branding. It's going to be my website URL and a few other things hopefully down the road. And so being in cybersecurity, I have to prove that I know how to code and whatnot. And we're going through Python, C++, and all that kind of stuff. And so when it comes to writing like HTML and all that and having your site built, it's, go to my channel. I can prove that I can do videography and photography in a way. And then they can also get referenced to a site that I built, and so it's more of a portfolio in my opinion. But yeah, it's also a resume for sure at the same time.
Yeah, you're right. I should use the word portfolio. That's a better word for it.
So when it comes to your content creation, I think all three of us do very different types of videos. I do, this is my main video that I'm posting each week. Yeah, I do sometimes do tutorials and stuff like that, but most of the time it's just this podcast. So I'm using mine more as like a broadcast medium. And since I stream live, the YouTube is really just a way for people who didn't catch it live to come back and find that content later. But I know you two are using it differently. Troy, how are you using, like, what kind of content, what is kind of your main focus when you're uploading content? What are you focusing on?
It's kind of hard to answer because lately it's been kind of weird videos coming out of my channel. But mostly anything like hardware. Like I focus more on hardware, where Jake is more obviously software and more in-depth software, how to make the software actually. So I like to focus on like the user experience, like the operating system of a phone, how you like it, just kind of the hardware, just kind of how it looks. Basically, it's like the average consumer kind of a feel to tech, and I try and make videos that kind of appeal to an average consumer. So like my mom, if she can watch it and understand it, then I did a good job.
And I would go right, yeah, I agree, because that's kind of what my focus is. When I started Uyghur Tech, 5 years ago as a blog, and it really was focused on, making technology simple for the everyday user. And, I use my grandma as an example. She loves technology, and I love, helping her out and having her just, when she figures out how to use something, you can tell it just makes her life easier. And, you having her iPad and stuff like that. So I think that there's a big community on YouTube, and this will transition perfectly to Jacob, but a big community on YouTube of tech people that are trying to make the industry understandable for the everyday person. And I think if you go on there and you watch people, especially like Marques Brownlee and people like that who are reviewing products and giving the people a way to kind of see these products and see what people think about them, and they don't use big terminology that no one understands. They use terminology that, everyone from my 6-year-old cousin to my grandma would be able to understand. Mm-hmm. So Jacob, what are you focusing on? How do you use YouTube for your content?
Well, I try and stay real, but at the same time I try and go a little bit more towards the professional end of things, because at the end of the day I have to appeal to both the viewers and to enterprise. And by that I mean potential sponsors or potential, so let's just say that I were to set up like a deal with, say, a school network, right? If I go into, say, Tennessee and I say, hey, all of my premium videos are free to all of the teachers in your district. Well, I have to be able to present myself professionally in order for them to do that. And so at the same time, you can lose a lot of that trust if you are too, suited up, I guess is the way to say it. And so I keep it real within my content, but at the same time, if somebody lands on my YouTube page, I want them to see a professional, clean-looking page.
Right, and I think you kind of have a hard mix because, like you said, you are going after, the enterprise level and the personal level, where I think for me, I'm really just focusing on that, that majority of 20 to 50-year-olds who just enjoy, some nice, let's see here. I'm getting a call, actually. We are getting a call in. See if we
Sounds great.
See if we can accept it here. Okay. All right, looks like actually the call-in service is not working when I'm using Google+, so that's something good to know. So whoever you were calling in, maybe type in the chat room, and I will answer your question. Sorry about that. I should have tested that beforehand, but this is the first week we're using Google+ on air, and so usually I use Google Hangouts to answer my calls and pipe them into the show, but it looks like I can't do both at once, sadly. So just figured that out. But yeah, maybe type in your question in the chat room and we can do that. So sorry to interrupt you, Jacob. Keep going if you can remember what you were going on there.
I have no idea what I was talking about, but I can go off on the fundamentals if you want.
Let's see. We're talking about... Oh, I lost my place. I lost my train of thought.
I got it. Okay. So this is something that we talked about earlier before the show started, and that was the YouTube community in general. And I think that, and feel free to interrupt me at any point, but I think that we water down what we do professionally, and we minimize what it is, the service that we're offering to the world, when we start calling ourselves a community. If you look at the Hollywood industry, they do not refer to themselves as a community. They refer to themselves and they think of themselves as a real legitimate industry. You will never meet a lawyer that will tell you that the court system is a community. And
that's very true.
so you have to stay away from that. Community infers a lot of social aspects, as in, let's work on this together. Community is more akin to religion. It's more akin to, and it's great. It's a great thing and it's wonderful and everything like that. But you need to make sure that if you want to be a YouTuber for a living and create great content consistently and improve the quality, buy the equipment that you need. Marquez Brownlee has very expensive equipment, and that equipment does not become free. And so I think that it behooves us to try and be deceptive by telling people, oh man, I'm just your bro, I'm your buddy, or whatever. I think it's disingenuous when somebody will say, I'm not in this for the money, or I would do this no matter what. I'm just going to keep uploading videos every single day for the rest of my life, and YouTube's this thing. One of the things that Gingy asked in this video they sent me was whether or not, well, one of the questions was, when will you stop YouTube? And the honest answer is, and he wanted me to be honest, the honest answer is as soon as that I can get enough people over to the Wild Academy website and create an ecosystem there, and that way Google doesn't get their piece of the pie, right? Because anybody, if you do not monetize your content, somebody else, the CMS, the content management system, will do the monetizing for you. The Kindle is cheap, but it's because Amazon can make the money off of what the authors list their books for. If you want to be known in the Amazon store and you're a new author and you make your books free, then people are getting content for free. And if all the books on Amazon were free, Amazon would simply increase the price of the Kindle to increase their margins, and they would basically be making money off of all of those indie authors out there that are offering all these books for free. So you'd have millions of authors writing, and this is what happened in the music industry. This is what happened to rock and roll. Actually, Gene Simmons talks about this in a video. The reason that rappers make so much money is because they're unapologetic about how much money they make. They tell you, right? You watch the music videos and they're throwing money up in the air and they're bragging about it. They're driving their awesome cars. And people want to see that. People want to see that. They want to live the rap lifestyle. And therefore, the get money, get paid every day, that type of attitude, That is why rappers in the music industry make the most money. If you look at rockers, if you look at people like Bright Eyes, these emo people who are more apologetic about this being their career, they don't make that same amount of money because they apologize about what it is that they're doing. Now, somebody is making money off of Bright Eyes, Connor Oberst. And if Connor Oberst isn't doing it, somebody else will. The venue will, that is charging him, it starts charging him to play at their venue, right? That's what the Super Bowl's doing. The Super Bowl used to not pay artists to come and play, or they haven't paid, I don't know if they paid artists in the past, but they haven't been paying artists to come and play during the halftime show for a while. And now they're discussing whether or not they're actually going to start charging musicians to come play at the Super Bowl. So Lady Gaga would have to pay $1 million to be able to come and play at the Super Bowl. And that is industry. That's the people who have control, the monopoly that's being created. That's them profiting off of the content creators. And I don't want to see the world. I don't want to see the world descend into that. And I think that Steve Jobs was actually onto something when he said that he didn't want the world to descend into just a bunch of bloggers, because I think a part of him was suspicious of this. I think like Google purchasing Blogger. If you create all of your content on Blogger, then Blogger will monetize those pages and you won't get any money. The same thing is true with Facebook. Facebook is basically a blogging platform that everybody is writing all these little micro blogs on, except for Facebook is monetizing everything that you are creating. If I write a huge long post, a huge long article, and then everybody's coming to that article back and forth and commenting, and I spent an hour, 4 or 5 hours of my day engaging with these users, Facebook is going to walk away with a big chunk of change, and you and I aren't going to get anything.
I would definitely agree, and the hard part is, like you said, once you can get everyone to your website, but the problem is, when you're starting up, you need to be where everyone's at. And where's everyone at? Everyone's on YouTube, everyone's on social media, and so hosting your stuff on YouTube is at least where you can get started. Now, I think one of the best examples of someone who was able to get out of that whole ecosystem, and probably because he never even started in it, he took his name and went and did his own thing, was Leo Laporte over on Twit. He started in the tech news industry and worked for people and worked for other, tech news organizations and websites, and then people liked him, liked his personality, and they followed him over to his website. So would you say that what you're trying to do in your videos, and I would say is exactly what I'm trying to do, is get people to like your personality, like your content enough that eventually you would be able to switch everything over and they would follow you and stay current with you over on your own website? Is that true or not?
Do you want me to talk, or Troy, did you want to hit that up?
Dude, that's totally on you. That's totally on you.
Okay, so this is one of those things where it's like you have to create.
I'm going to cut you off because we have 2 questions actually directed at you in the chat room. Someone said, does Wild Academy have an assessment platform to complement the educational content piece?
It does not yet. Wild Academy will. Wild Academy is going to be, and I don't want to hijack the show, but Wild Academy is going to be a site that you can go to, and you can, by assessment, do you mean tests? Where, like certification?
I'm guessing that's what they mean. Yeah, well, kind of like maybe a way to test your knowledge that you've gained by watching videos.
Yes, so Wild Academy will basically be videos, but also instruction. They'll be text-based, and there will be a window where you can actually type in as we're doing these programs, and then it'll return the results. Plus, there'll also be video content as well. Okay. As far as certification goes, I'm very skeptical of certification, and I don't want to get into that business myself. But we'll see where it goes.
And then the next question was, do you have a content niche? Like, are they all tech, or are they anything?
Yeah, it's all softwares, right? So it's GIMP. It's not purely software development, but it's all softwares and then also programming languages as well. So that is the niche there. And if there's going to be a time when there's something that I don't know that the topic is going to be discussed, then we will have a professional come in that teaches that.
Great. Perfect. And then, Troy, one thing I was going to ask you is, I had it for a second right before I did, and then I lost it. Okay. When you're going in and you are kind of building your analytics, because you have a ton of subscribers, actually a lot more than me. Why does your content, gain subscribers? What do you think you do that kind of gets that? When people are starting out on YouTube, a lot of them are like, well, it's so hard to get followers and to get people to actually be interested in my videos. What have you found to be kind of your kind of key to success? Or if you want to share it, I guess. If you want to share your secret potion.
Well, now Jake has surpassed everyone. This is for me, right? Or is this for Jake?
Oh, well, for you. Jake. Yeah, for you.
Oh, it's for me?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Jake's totally surpassed me, so I kind of want to know Jake's answer to this as well. But honestly, for me, it was just finding that one video that a lot of people care about. Because each one of my videos, my average views are only like 100 to 300 views. But then I have like the iPhone 6, which we may talk about, we may not, but that video hits over 300,000 views. Earbuds, like what are the best earbuds for back to school? That gets over like 25,000 views. It's just finding the video or like the topic that people actually care about. I'm still playing that game every single day. Obviously, I've only had those kind of success stories really only like 3 or 4 times, but really I gotta learn how to market better by kind of searching into Google AdWords and whatnot and seeing what people are kind of typing and seeing what people are just wanting to know. I'm not doing that enough. My marketing's a little low right now, but it's mostly just finding what people actually want to know, what people care about. Obviously, the iPhone 6 is a super hot topic, and it's going to be even hotter once September 9th rolls around. But that's really my answer to it, is just finding what people actually care about.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the hard part on YouTube, when I'm telling people, they ask, how you find an audience, is you will get a video or two, like you just said, where you get a ton of views, and you will just get an overwhelming amount of views, and it'll drive a lot of traffic to your channel. And then you look back at those videos, and honestly, at least for me, they're not the videos that I'm the proudest of. They're not the videos that I thought would be the most successful at all. But for some reason, maybe it had maybe it was about something big, and there was a news story, and everyone looked it up. I don't know, but something makes that video big. I think the hard part is, okay, yeah, I want to make a few of those. So I want to make a video about the iPhone 6. I want to make a video about, some big topics. But also you're like, well, but then I want to focus on what I do best. And I think it's hard kind of maybe going and making those big videos, but then also making your specialty videos. Yeah. So I think it's finding the perfect mix where you can drive some more subscribers by making those big videos, and then those people, when they see that content, they'll say, hey, well, he does these other videos. Let me check those out and see what they're all about. But Jacob, what do you think about that?
I think that you have to, this is probably going to be the wrong analogy, but I approach it as a user interface perspective. And by that I mean, when a user comes to my video, I have to create a reason for them to subscribe. So if you create a one-hit wonder, if it's just a one-hit wonder, why do people have any reason to stick around? And so the things that I focus on is maximizing every single viewer that discovers my channel to get as many views out of that individual as possible. I'm not trying to get 1 view from 1 million people. I'm trying to get 5 views from 200,000 people. And the way to do that is to create a reason that is inherent within that video for them that they might possibly come back to my channel. And you can see this by having a tutorial series that I've set up where these are numbered days. So if somebody comes to day 6 of, say, the GIMP tutorial series that you actually did for me, by the way,
yeah,
they will say, here is day 6 of this tutorial series. I looked up how to do this specific thing. I can't remember what it was, but I looked that up. I found it on this channel. I now know that this is an encyclopedia-esque YouTube channel. Therefore, I should subscribe to them so that in the future they can be a valuable tool for me. And that's what I want to create. I look at per views, how many subscribers did I get out of those views? If I have 1,000 views, I want to have at least gotten, well, I actually don't know what that number is, but it's important. It's not, there's a huge difference between getting 1,000 views and getting 0 subscribers, or sorry, 100,000 views and getting 5 subscribers, and getting 1,000 views and getting 50 subscribers.
I love how you reference the person as a valuable tool for you.
Which person?
You just said like have a person subscribe and they become a valuable tool for me.
Oh no! Did I say
It was
that?
just
No, no.
good. It was good wording. Don't worry.
I become a valuable tool for them.
There we go.
That was what I
Yeah.
was saying. When they come to my channel, if they say, "Oh, this is a one-hit wonder. This is something that some celebrity shared, and I'm going to watch it," that's cool. And then they just go away, right? Like laughing baby videos.
Oh my goodness.
Will I ever have the point to subscribe to a channel if it has a laughing baby video? I actually saw that recently. The man that talks like a girl. Did you guys see that video?
What?
I've seen the one where he sings like a girl, where he sings like Aladdin and stuff like that.
Oh
Is that
yeah,
it?
that's
Is
a
that
good
it?
one. Yeah, I think his name is Nick or something like that. But no, this was a guy who recently, like 2 weeks ago, I think, he talks exactly like a girl, and he had like, I don't know, 3 million views or something in under a day. And I looked at the channel subscribers, and it was like 320. 320 subscribers, and the guy had over 1 million views. Like, it's just mind-boggling to me.
Well, that's what gets me is because actually what you were talking about when you do the numbered days, you were one of the first people, actually I think still the only person I've seen on YouTube. I know there's probably more, but you were one of the only ones I've seen that does it that way. And it's interesting because it does make you want to subscribe, especially when you stagger the uploads, if you don't just upload all 20 at once, because it makes me want to be, it makes me want me to be notified when you have uploaded another video to that series, to further my education on this topic that obviously I searched for. If I'm finding you, I have searched for, let's say, how to run GIMP. And if I found that and I found the first 6 videos and I know you're going to be making more, that subscribe button, that's just one more incentive. But like you just said, I've had that same thing where, I have one video that's gotten me over 70,000 views on YouTube, but yet I'm still stuck at around 280 subscribers. And it's that balance, it's that finding that incentive that you just said of how to get those people to actually click that subscribe button. And it's a fine art, I would say.
Yeah. I was actually going to say another thing that there is the one-hit wonder. Jake's totally right, but one of the things that you have to keep in mind with the one-hit wonders is, like, say you did get 3 million views and you play your cards right, to where while that video is playing on the right-hand side, there's like other videos on your channel, and so there's 300,000 people looking at some of your other videos, and if they look enticing, some of them might be total crap, but I mean if they look as enticing as, say, like your iPhone 6 video, or my iPhone 6 video I should say, then they'll click on that one and that one and that one. I mean, even if they don't subscribe necessarily, I mean, that does kind of show your performance, and it is kind of like your trophy in a way. But the money comes from the views itself. So I mean, yeah, I don't get a subscriber, but I mean, if I have 300,000 people seeing a playlist of videos, it's left and right. I mean, obviously you want both, and it's all just kind of a luck game at the same time. But I just wanted to add that into the conversation.
The hard part is, though, I think the subscribers is what makes you, on those smaller videos that maybe aren't going to get the big traffic, it's what gets those to be at least a good-sized chunk of views. Because those subscribers are going to see that content, even though it's not one of your big keyword, marquee YouTube videos. And it gets the kind of videos off the ground. I've noticed that as my subscribers go up, even my small videos will get a decent amount of views the first 2 days because those subscribers see it before it kind of gets into YouTube's search engine. But,
well, keep in mind, like Marquez K. Brownlee, he has over 1 million subscribers. He has well over 1.5 million subscribers, actually. He has 1.6 million or something like that right now. But if you look at his average views per video, it's around 300,000 views. I mean, his latest video, the Dre Beats one, obviously was popular. People want to know that, hence, the one-hit wonder or whatever. But I mean, once they hit that, they see all his other awesome content on the sites. They're more enticed to click it. But I mean, he has over 1.6 million views, but he's not even getting close to 1.6 million views per video. So I mean, the subscriber thing is a little hard to explain. I mean, yeah, I think it's only like what 60 or 50% of my subscribers will come back and actually watch my videos, because I'm only getting 300 views per video, and I have like 1,600 people following. So I mean, it's kind of hard to judge off your subscription list, but you do have those true fans for sure following. I can hear Jake kind of tickling in the back.
Yeah, I have so much to say.
Oh my God.
I think that the subscriber metric is becoming less and less important.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
The reason that YouTube switched to here's a list of everything your subscribers have uploaded to a what to watch model is kind of infuriating to me. And if you guys notice, the video managers will now show a promote this video.
Yeah.
tag on your video manager for each video that's under 5 minutes. And that to me is frightening. And that proves my point that YouTube is now going to start monetizing its YouTube partners and making money off of us. We're going to have to pay to play, which is exactly what Facebook did with all of the businesses who created Facebook pages and then paid for all of these fans, right? All these likes. I get 100,000 people like my Facebook page. Built it up, great, awesome. I created all this amazing, let's say that I didn't even pay for those fans. Let's say that I actually made great content that drove traffic to my Facebook page. Well, once I get enough subscribers, Facebook's now going to say, hey, every time you post something, you're going to have to pay money in order for any of the people who you earned to see it. And that is evil. And Google is being evil.
It's all about the money. Sadly.
Yeah, it's all about the money. So stop apologizing.
Well, and keep in mind, Twitch just got bought out by Amazon, I mean, not too long ago, so there's hope in the future, but it's all up to Amazon to do it right.
Well, but, who's to say the next owner, the next big content creator won't treat us the exact same way?
Oh, yeah,
but,
sure.
It's the hard part about it. But at least it gives us a place to try and kind of get in and get in the door. And it's a crazy world, and it's so true. We are kind of tied down by YouTube. And I have that problem, too, is because on every single social media site, I see it on Facebook, on Twitter, on everything, it's pay to promote this, pay to promote this. And pretty soon it's going to be the people who have the money are going to be seen, the people who don't are not going to be seen. And that's a scary thing. That's the great thing about the internet, the great thing about YouTube, the great thing about all these services in the past is that everyone's able to have a voice. And now, the argument is that, okay, I don't want everyone to have a voice because some of the voices aren't that great. But we should still have the ability to enter. And just like Jacob says, pay to play. And I'm scared for that too, because as a small content creator, I'm in college, I don't do this as a job. It's a passion thing for me. That's scary because I don't want to be, my voice be shut out because I can't afford to pay Google to have my YouTube videos show up in the search. But
right. How does Justin Bieber get discovered if nobody ever sees his videos? He can make the most awesome videos ever.
That's where I saw him first, was on YouTube. That's where I saw him first, actually. Right, the only time I thought he was good was when he was a kid singing.
And so what we're going to do is we're basically going to create a monarchy where everybody who has money basically controls everything. And you know what this is going to turn into if these content creators don't start taking this seriously, is this going to turn into network television. And that's what YouTube wants, right? YouTube's promoting, is it Jenna Marbles or something like that?
Yeah, she's actually like one of the top 5 most paid YouTubers. It's ridiculous. Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure YouTube's made all sorts of deals with her saying you're going to cut us in on a bunch of this money if we promote you back. So, whatever. I mean, it's a free market, right? Like, I'm a libertarian, and I believe that it's free. If Google wants to create all of this stuff, all these tools for free for us, and then have us use them and then make money off it, that's understandable for them. But we have to figure out a way to be in the same mindset as them.
Yeah, and I think that's so true, because you've been actually the voice of reason in my head of being okay with making money on YouTube and and being okay with the advertisements and stuff like that. And it's true, because if they're going to do it, if they're going to monetize off our content, why not get our cut of it, I guess. And the people who get the views, people obviously find your content to be worth it. And it's interesting, though, because there's a lot of different models for people like us, content creators, to monetize our content. And for me, I chose a while back, and it hasn't been that successful until I've got a few patrons, but it's Patreon. I don't know if you guys have kind of looked into or anything like that, but basically what it is for us content creators, it's people can go in and say, this guy's worth it, I love his content, here is $5 a month, or here's $1 a month. And do you guys like that model of making money? Troy, I know, as you and I are kind of growing our channels, obviously monetization is going to be interesting, and Jacob has his views on it, but how do you think, is it going to be through YouTube, through obviously the Google ads and stuff like that we're going to make the money, or is it going to be through these third party, through these other ways that the watchers, actually our viewers, can give us money? What do you think is going to be the most successful?
For our income, you mean, or?
Yeah, I mean, just in monetizing any sort of YouTube content or any podcast, anything like that.
Honestly, the way I'm hoping, again, hope being the key word here, or is that YouTube's actually be a gateway into my main source of revenue, which will hopefully be the URL or the domain that like wildacademy.com or WeagerTech.com. The channel will, I hope, will be just a doorway. Like, oh, that's a cool channel. Let's check out their site, and then their site hopefully is so legit that it just kind of makes them stay on the site, and they'll just go to the site more often than your YouTube channel. So I like to think of it as a doorway. Obviously, right now, with kind of all of us still in kind of the startup game in a way, none of our sites are, well, at least yours is, Mike. Yours is a lot more up and running than the rest of ours. But like, for example, once Jake moves all his content from his YouTube channel and only puts like 5-minute segments on YouTube and says, if you want to see the rest, go check out my site, and all that's over on his site, I'm sure that revenue from his site will be generating so much more money, especially because he has a lot more freedom in choosing, what ads play and who he's sponsoring and whatnot, and kind of what things are on the side. So I like to think of it as a gateway into your main revenue or your main income, but you also see people like Austin Evans partnering and just giving them like a 30-second shout out, like their company at the beginning or the end of each video. So I mean, I see that being a good way to go too if you don't really want to go the URL kind of route, but I prefer it to be a gateway, just personally.
I would agree. Jacob, anything on that?
Yeah. The ad model isn't exactly the greatest thing in the world. Ideally, Wild Academy would love to be subscription-based.
Like a paywall sort of site?
Right.
Okay.
But at the same time, you have to weigh in, okay, I want people who are willing to pay to be able to access this higher-end content, but I want people that can afford it because it's an education thing, and I'm strong about education. I think that education, that's what the wonderful thing about the internet and YouTube in general, right? I mean, it allows people to be educated for free, which is the argument that we make all the time about, raising school budgets and everything like that and paying for people to be educated. And I think that the internet is definitely primed to do that. But at the same time, the offerings can improve. They can. What would be the point of getting educated? Right? I mean, let's just talk long term. What would be the point of getting educated if you live in a world after you're educated where there's no jobs to be found because nobody's being compensated for any of the work that they're doing, except for the people who have the keys to the ecosystem? And that's why Apple's so successful with the iTunes Store, and that's the approach they took with iOS. So good for them. They created a new industry of app developers, but at any time they can say, you know what, we're only going to give you 50% instead of 70%.
Those keys to the kingdom are huge, and the people that create the industry run it. And right now we're seeing, like you just said, Apple running that industry. We see, Facebook running social, and really YouTube handling all of online video. And there's competition out there, but yeah, those gatekeepers per se are really holding those keys tight and not letting go. That is for sure. So on that, okay, but Jacob, I was wondering, would you be interested in a Patreon type service, or does that not interest you at all?
I'd just build it myself. I don't know that I don't see the point of having. I would maybe get like a white label company where people can support my channel and then they can run the transactions just right there.
Okay.
I don't really understand the whole Patreon thing. Why do people want Patreon to be in control? Because all you're doing is that you're making Patreon have control. You're giving them keys to the kingdom, right? And if they are deciding who gets what checks, right? If they're the ones cutting out the checks to you and paying you, then they become your customer at that point. And they're trying to migrate content from YouTube and blogs to Patreon. That's why people can post messages to their patrons, and then the patrons get linked to the Patreon page, and then all of a sudden there's a comment thread that's created on Patreon. Patreon's getting a bunch of page views, and then they're going to monetize that in the end. They're also going to take their cut and their percentage. So long-term view, you can always do Patreon, and man, it's going to hurt. I know that Tech News Today does really well on Patreon, but who knows what kind of backdoor deals. And I don't say that derogatorily, but I know that...
Conspiracy theorist.
No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think that these things actually, these deals get made, right? I mean, Tom Merritt could have easily went, or Patreon could have approached Tom Merritt and said, hey, we're going to put you on the front page of our home page so that we can show that, hey, look, here is a content creator who's making 15K or whatever he's making a month, that's making 15K with Patreon. And we're just going to, we're going to promote these 9 individuals, 9 different shows, and they're going to get tons of views and stuff, and people are going to see their content, click on it. Who is this Tom Merritt that's making $15,000, right? Click on it. I listen to some of his content, and then I go, all right, well, I'm going to subscribe to him. So it's a super good deal for Tom Merritt to have said, okay, sure, I'm going to join Patreon. And it's like you said with Leo Laporte being in charge of the twit.tv network. You have to be really, you don't have to be suspicious. You just have to know that other people have backdoor interests, deals that are made that are outside of our purview. The discussions that will go on between me and sponsors, even with recent ones, is we're being very creative. We're coming up with ideas. So, hey, what do you think about this? Well, maybe we do this. Maybe we structure it as per click, or maybe we just do it per month, right? We're actually coming across we're blazing the trail as far as figuring out how do we monetize our content. YouTube's already got that figured out. If you look at the rules of YouTube monetization, you can't do any monetization in your videos that YouTube offers a similar method or modality. I don't know if modality is the right word for doing it. So that means you can't have a ad within your video. If I were to look up and say, okay, now here's a short break from one of our sponsors, and then the sponsor does their commercial. And the reason you can't do that is because YouTube wants them to pay to have that commercial placed in their TrueView ads at the beginning of the YouTube video, or even in the middle, because you can set it up to have it display in the middle, right? You also can't have display I don't know if scroll's the right word, but the little banners at the bottom, on the bottom path, you can't have a call such and such company to get awesome services and things like that. I've seen people get away with it, but technically by the YouTube terms of service, you can't do that because they have an alternate form, which is their display ads that pop up at the bottom. So you can't do it that way. So currently there are only a few ways of doing this, and I don't know how far I want to get into this, but again, I'm totally transparent about everything, so I kind of really don't care.
Well, let me give you one more thing to go off then. In the chat room, someone actually had a really good comment. Basically what they're saying is they have 3 comments, and the first one was, when YouTube leaves the reach of the common person, you'll be making your money doing live speaking engagements and face-to-face consulting. Firms and organizations that cannot afford to keep you on staff will bring you in, and their patrons will pay to glean from your wisdom. At the end of the day, the keys of the kingdom will be relationship-based, which I think is a great comment because really what we're doing is this comes back to you guys using your YouTube page as a resume. And when people see this, that YouTube, obviously, like we've all said, isn't our end-all, be-all. It's not what we think is going to be the future, but it builds that relationship. And then when we have these relationships with our viewers, with our customers, we can take that out beyond YouTube. And I think that's kind of fits in with your goal, is taking your viewers and taking them outside of YouTube eventually to somewhere else. But then what they said next was that when YouTube leaves everyone jaded, things will become smaller, closer, and more local, but for now we'll enjoy the ride. And I think that's true. I think that it's true in a way. I think the internet in general is with location-based stuff and with people knowing where we're at and targeted ads, I think it is becoming a little smaller and more local. But do you guys think that's true when YouTube goes away? Are things going to be more personable? Either of you?
I think that this is a bunch of malarkey, honestly. To say that I need to have personal relationships with every single one of the people who follow me or view me. That's fine. If people want to follow my work, that's fine. But I don't think that they need to follow me around. I don't think they need to know everything about me. I don't think that we need to be buddies. They have a life. They have real friends. They have real family members.
Well, I don't think that's where they were going. I think they were saying that basically these relationships you build and stuff like that, what you can take them beyond YouTube. Maybe not with those specific people, but things are relationship based. I think that was what they were getting down to, is that even if YouTube goes away, that if you have become comfortable with making these relationships with your viewers and being close to your community, that you can take that beyond YouTube. Because I think where they were going with it. But you still don't agree?
Right. I understand where they're going with it, and I still disagree because J.R.R. Tolkien does not have any personal relationships with any of his readers.
Okay.
I don't know how far I need to take that. I don't know how far I need to take that. Walt Disney does not have any personal relationship with any of the people who consume his content.
But are they going for the same effect that we are? Or are they?
I'm not going for look. I'm not trying to be everybody's best friend. I'm trying to provide them a service, which is you will learn how to be a software developer. You will learn this programming language, and then you will go win in the market. You will go make a lot of money. It's not let's be best friends, and you're going to pay me to be my best friend. And hey, if I don't show up to your party or if I don't invite you to the party, then I don't get paid. That's just silly. I don't want to do speaking engagements. I shouldn't have to create a iOS game, and this will make it make more sense. Okay, I shouldn't have to create a iOS game, make no revenue from it, and then think that I'm going to make my money from doing conference gigs about game development. Oh, that's that guy who made that cool tower defense game. We should go pay to go to that conference because then the people who actually create the conference are the ones that are getting paid again, and then they're writing the checks to me.
See, and this is why I have you guys on, because that's complete opposite of kind of, I guess, where I go with my channel is I think I encourage what I want, what I like the best is, and maybe I don't publicize this enough, maybe people don't know this about me, is I like it when people email me about questions and we get a personal relationship going. And then, I have people from 3 years ago that emailed me just one quick email, and that we are now doing Skype calls and I'm helping them out, and it's all just kind of for free right now. But for me, I think a lot of it is relationship driven, and I'm not in it because I think our goals in the end are different. Because I don't see this as a job, I guess, per se. Like for me, I'm in law school to become a lawyer. Stop saying what?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
you got to stop saying that.
Saying what?
The world will pay you what you ask it to.
Right.
That's all I have to say to that.
Right, but I think that's not what I'm looking to get out of my YouTube stuff. And
well, you're going to create the content either way. And as I said earlier, somebody is going to monetize on your work. And if it's not you, then you're not going to be able to create better content for the people who actually do like you and do follow your work.
See, but I don't think that's true. I don't think I need to monetize to be successful. I don't think I need to monetize to better my content. Because honestly, for the last 4 years, I've made pretty much nothing off of my content, and it's gotten better and better, and I've gotten more views, and I've connected to more people, and it's grown organically. And so I don't think you necessarily need money or you don't need to monetize, even if someone else is off my content. I don't really care about that. Go ahead and monetize. I get to use your platform, and that's good enough for me. Troy, we've kind of been talking about you here, but what do you think about that? With your goal in YouTube, I guess you heard me kind of talk about where I'm at. I think Jacob and I are on polar opposite ends, but we have some similar ground. Where do you kind of fall in there?
I'm actually kind of in the middle of the spectrum with YouTube. I mean, I understand Jake's side. What he does makes sense. Why would he need to be butt buddies with anyone when, what he's doing is a service already? I mean, he's teaching you. I mean, you're not butt buddies with your professors in college. If you are, then you're a teacher's pet and no one likes you. But I mean, the way it works is you go to learn. It's a service. They're there to get paid and to teach you, and that's essentially what Jake is. Jake, whether you like it or not, you're almost like a college professor here. For everyone else that watches.
How dare you?
How
dare you?
We all know how Jacob does physical education.
But when you lean into like me and you, Mike, for you, for example, when I look through your stuff, it's more tutorials in a way, like how to do this and how to do that. So you're almost like a personal IT guy, and so I see why you cater towards the personal relationship kind of a thing. For myself, I'm kind of in the middle. I ignore a lot of people. For example, when I gave away the AT&T sponsored giveaway of that HTC M8 just a few weeks ago, so many emails coming in of people just saying, hey, like, I want to be your best friend. I don't have a phone. I live in Africa, which might be true. I don't know. But I just tend to ignore those because you don't want to become friends with someone that just wants to use and abuse, You want to actually have something there. It's kind of a mutual relationship, but I'm honestly in the middle. So half my viewers I care about, half of them I don't, I should say, as bad as that sounds. If that makes sense at all.
So, Jacob, you're still, though, going off the assumption that you need to not let someone else monetize off your stuff to grow? Or did I guess that might be a misquote of what you said, but
People can monetize off my stuff. Obviously, YouTube does. Obviously, so this is kind of the whole small business world, right? If I pay a company X dollars to offer a service for me, they're monetizing off of my work, right? Because I create income by creating content, and then I pay them to do this service for me. But Google's pure intent, and it's not, I'm not trying to pick on Google or anything. These large tech companies have a lot of money that's poured into non-efficiencies. When you get a company that's this large, there's a lot of things that fall through the cracks. You hear about those stories about those people who work for those large companies where they just sit at a desk all day and their manager got fired or something, and then they're there for an entire year just sitting at their desk watching YouTube videos for an entire year, not doing anything. Yeah. Companies like Google and Facebook have people that are like that. They're basically people that just sit in an office. People get hired just to make it look like something's going on in that business. Startups all the time do it. Let's bring in some potential investors. We got to make sure there's 6 butts in these seats to make it look like this company is going to be the next Facebook. And for me, I want to improve efficiencies, and that's what partly Google's goal as well. But we really don't want to set up a world where everything is monopolized. I think monopoly is fine if it happens in a free market situation, but the consumers benefit from competition. And right now there is no competition to YouTube, which means that there's a lot of inefficiencies that are falling through the cracks because this company is now growing larger and larger.
But is that a bad thing if people still have access to what they have access to? What are the downfalls of them being able to control the content? What are the downsides of them even being able to monetize off our stuff if we're okay with that?
Because we turn into the world of the WALL-E. That's probably a horrible way of saying it. But if you've seen WALL-E the movie, I don't want the world to become this thing where we just all sit around our houses all day and we just receive checks from the government and we buy everything that we need because it's so cheap to make. All of these companies have these monopolies that are impossible to defeat. I don't want a world like that. I like the fact that you have to wake up and work and earn a living and progress, because that this ties into biology almost and evolution. But you have to have a lot of different individual nodes and people failing, right? The whole thing about the free market is that there's a lot of failures out there. A lot of people trying to create new things. For every Wrights brothers trying to figure out how to fly, there's $1 million that are invested in learning how to do that and then failing. And if I wake up in the morning and I'm just getting free checks, all my content's free, I don't have to buy any books because they're all free on the Kindle, I don't have to pay for any content that's online, I don't have to try and be inventive. I don't have to say, crap, I have to pay for this, and in order to pay for this, I have to come up with something new and creative. And we're going to lose that creative power if we just let the world turn into the world of whatever that starship's name is on WALL-E. What is the name of that?
E, I think.
Oh, E, yeah.
I'm sad I know that.
E, yeah.
Don't be sad. Good memory.
But I think we can both exist in this. I think, the great part about you having that, view on YouTube, and then on the opposite of the spectrum, me having my view, is that we have people like you to carry that through, and then we have people like me who kind of we offer two different things, I think, to our public, even though we think completely differently about YouTube. And although you said not to say it again, YouTube for me is not my job. YouTube's a hobby. My podcast is a hobby. Everything's a hobby that I do just for fun, and I enjoy connecting with people, and it gives me something to take my mind off of law school with. But it's something I plan to do for the rest of my life. But I have no care in the world if it, makes money or not. If it does, that's great. It helps out with some of the expenses. But I have no problem paying out of my own personal pocket to keep this running. If people want to give me money, that's great. But for me, that it's just not the way I view it. And I think we do need people with both perspectives. I think we need people like you to be furthering it and pushing it and challenging Google, challenging, all the big companies to not just monopolize us. And then it's okay if we have people like me on the other side.
It's so it's not the approach that Apple would take. One of the reasons Apple hates Google so much is that they're creating a world of advertisement. They're creating a world where everything is created. Everything that's created is then monetized by ads. And so it's going to kill the creativity in the world, because basically the only thing that you'd be able to charge for, because there's these laws that are created, let's say you can't walk into a store and steal a Mountain Dew, right? If an ad shows, if there's a Mountain Dew ad that's shown, then the users go to the store and purchase the Mountain Dew. Because of that, that's that point of value that's created, right? I wouldn't necessarily call it value because it's Mountain Dew. But let's say that it's something actually useful. That's one of the reasons that Apple likes to charge a high price for their hardware, and they don't put ads on their phones. And they were really wary of it before putting ads on the iOS store, the App Store.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. That is true, and that's where Apple got successful with that so quickly.
Right, and they need to continue charging a high amount for hardware. So it basically says, we made this, buy this, pay for this, right? Pay for, they made iTunes free, but iTunes basically was integrated into their hardware. You purchased the iMac and you got iTunes with it. And that's where they're monetizing, is off of the hardware. But they create the services around that ecosystem.
Well, and that's why I think you and I are kind of similar, because I agree. The way that Apple does things is, obviously completely different than Google. And someone in the chat room actually was just talking about how the fact that they go through all their searches and they're trying to target their ads and everything like that is starting to become burdensome, and they don't like it. And I think that people we've got to get out of this mindset that everything should be free, just add and basically sell my information to give this product to me for free. Although I like free, I'm willing to pay for quality products when I need those products. And advertisements, I think, like you said earlier, ads is not the way to go. I don't think it's going to be the future. I think that's the way the internet needs to go right now, maybe for a little bit longer, to get people into these services. But I think when people actually look at the differences between when I pay for something and when I don't, and the experiences I have when I pay for a really high-quality Apple product and when I don't pay as much for a different product that's going to add and sell my information and all that stuff, I think it'll start to even out as we go to the future. I think it's just the internet having trouble finding a way to quickly monetize their stuff. And it's true. It's hard to find a revenue stream in a quick manner. But
a really good way to look at any Apple products is to, if you look at the lifespan of how long your iMac will last or how long your iPhone will last, you have to think about it as a service, because again, the iMac is a service. If there was no programs on it, you wouldn't be buying it, right? A lot of people are like, oh, the hardware is beautiful and all, whatever. But really, it's the stuff you can do on that hardware. A really good way of looking at it is that to use an iMac, you're paying $1 per day. The lifespan of the iMac and the cost of the iMac is equal to paying Apple a subscription service, in a way, $1 a day. It turns out that there's been studies that show this. It turns out that in order to have an Apple computer, it costs you $1 a day. And that helps that should help us as content creators kind of price out our own value.
Very true. Well, it just points more and more to how the quality of your content is probably the most important aspect. When people are asking about viewers, when people are asking about everything, you can go through and you can make all the changes and you can filter your stuff and you can, make all the metadata good and everything. But really what it comes down to is the quality content. And why are they able to charge so much for their stuff? Because it works and it's solid, products. People come back and buy their stuff because it works and they pay that premium. And so I think just quality of content is going to be the biggest thing. Troy, do you have anything you want to add in on kind of monetization, ads versus no ads versus, all that sort of stuff?
Not really, no.
So I kind of jumped in.
Because I kind of missed half the conversation. I don't know if you guys saw roommate walk in with a towel on. He's locked out, but...
Oh. Gotta let him in.
Yeah, gotta let him in. So what was the topic again? It was just advertisement in general?
Yeah, ad revenue, and basically how Apple differs. They charge a premium for their product. I think,
Mhm.
Jacob, if you want to kind of give a summary of kind of what you just said.
Mhm.
Right. So Apple monetizes at the front end on their hardware.
Yeah.
Google monetizes on the long tail. It monetizes off of ads and things like that, and information that they collect from the Android software. Um, and a good way to really look at this is to say that in order to use and I guess there's other listeners besides Troy, but basically when you're using an Apple product, you're paying Apple $1 per day to use their services. Apple is
Yeah.
not selling you hardware; it's selling you the services. It's selling you iCloud. Of course,
Mhm.
everybody recently got ripped off, but it's selling you iTunes. It's selling you iWorks. Of course, they added a little more cost to that originally. Is iWorks free now? I think it is. Does it come with?
If you bought a Mac recently,
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
buy a new Mac, but sadly mine doesn't even qualify.
Right. So this only further proves this theory is that Apple is selling you services, and that's what they want to be in. That's the industry they want to be in. So, because hardware can ultimately become, this is kind of the conundrum. Hardware is harder to steal, but the price can always be driven down, and the software can ultimately be very cheap. But then you give the deliverers, right, like Comcast, right, the zeros and ones that have to be delivered. Um, we could live in a world where that eventually is what it boils down to, because they're the only people left that you'd have to pay in order to get where you want to go with the services. So we'll see.
It'll be really interesting to see where this goes in the future and what companies, people think we're so kind of advanced already in our technology, but really we're in the infant stage of all of this, of all the internet, of all of our technology. And I think it'll be interesting to see in our lifetimes, by the time we're getting old and and probably not keeping
Right.
current with this stuff, it'll be interesting to see which companies have succeeded. I mean, is it the Facebooks and the Googles, or is it the Apples and other companies like that? But it'll be good to kind of see. Well, guys, it has been an awesome show. I really liked having you on. I hope we can have you back. We covered some really good stuff. I really liked where that YouTube conversation went, and I think you guys brought a lot to the show. Quickly, let's kind of go through, give your plugs, tell people where they can find you, and maybe I know I put both of your URLs to your YouTube pages down in the description, but anything else, Twitter, email, anything like that. So go ahead and let us know. Let's start with Troy. Where can people find you at?
Uh, you can find me at Gingy Tech. Just go into the YouTube search bar and type in Gingy Tech. You can also find me at Gingy Tech at Twitter, Gingy Tech on Facebook, Gingy Tech on Instagram. You can find me pretty much Gingy Tech anywhere. If you have a question, just go to one of my videos and just type in, "Hey Gingy, what's up? Saw you on Mike's podcast," and let me know what's happening.
Great. Jacob?
You can go to wildacademy.com. Currently, that'll forward you to my YouTube page, and you can subscribe to me there. But also, did you want to give an Audible pitch here?
Yeah, I did, actually. I was going to do it right after you guys.
Did you have a book selected?
I have, for the past 2 weeks, I have still picked the Walter Isaacson Steve Jobs biography. I really liked that, and I liked listening to it in audio form. I thought it was really good. That was kind of my pick this week, but I didn't have a new one. Do you have a pick?
I think so. Hold on. So I'm going to pick To Sell is Human, and I don't know if they have it on Audible. I'm checking right now. But let's see. Yes, they do have it on Audible. So what it talks about in To Sell is Human is basically what makes somebody a good salesman, and also kind of this. It talks about the whole area of business to business transactions and things like that. And what it showed, one of the interesting things that I found in this book was that the things that they talked about was we have this idea that the best salespeople are extroverted, and studies have shown that it's actually a mix between introverts and extroverts. It's what's known as ambiverts, and if you know the root word amber, so ambidextrous, which means you're an introvert when you need to be, but you can be an extrovert. You can take on the traits that an extrovert typically has, which is being bold, saying, no, I won't do this, but I will do this. And those types of skills. Because here's the issue: if you're just an extrovert, which coincides with a lot of narcissism at the same time, if you're an extrovert, you have a really hard time of listening to other people. And the same is true if you're an introvert, because you're more inside. It's hard for you to empathize with the person that you are making a deal with. And your negotiation skills drop, right? Empathy is a trait, or if you want to be really good at negotiation, developing empathy is one of the best things you can do, because you can put yourself in the shoes of the other individual and say, how can I make this deal better for them? How can I make it so that they get everything they want and then some? And reading this book will teach you a lot of those skills.
And what was the title of that again?
It's called To Sell is Human. And the author is Daniel Pink. I think he's done some other books as well. So he did
I want to put that on my mind.
Let's see here. I believe he did a TED Talk, actually, about motivation, if I remember correctly. But we can go into that another time.
Very cool. So if you guys want to check that book out, I know I'm going to add that to my list here, audibletrial.com/WeagerTech, and I'm not using my normal program, so I can't put up that lower third, but audibletrial.com/WeagerTech. That'll give you a 30-day free trial of audible.com. It is a place that has thousands and thousands of audiobooks. If you guys haven't given audiobooks a try, it's a really cool way to I guess read a book. You're listening to it. It develops in your head almost like a movie. It's a lot different than reading. And so give it a shot. I listen to them while I'm in the car, while I'm cleaning, all that sort of stuff. So audibletrial.com/WeagerTech, and give that book that Jacob just mentioned a try, or select any other ones. I think it'll give you a book free. So with 1 month, with 30-day trial, to give you 1 book free. So go out and grab that free book.
Right,
well, I want to thank. Yeah.
Sorry, that's a $21 book on Audible. You can grab it for free. So definitely look into that.
Yeah, so get your money's worth. Go out and just grab it for free. So go to audibletrial.com/WeagerTech, and you can get that book for free, or any other book you want. So audiobooks are expensive too. So I think that's the best part about Audible for me, is that it's actually cheaper. If you just subscribe to the monthly plan, you get your books for a lot cheaper than if you just went out and bought them. So in a book a month, you can easily get through if you have any sort of commute at all. So,
are you going to put that link in the description below the video?
Yeah, I will. I will add it if you send it to me. Just send me the link real quick.
Oh, no. You put the link in.
To the Audible trial. I thought you meant to that exact book. So
No. Put the link to the Audible trial.
Yeah, no. I think I have it, but if I don't, I'll put it in there. So.
All right, great.
Alrighty, well, Jacob, Troy, it's been great having you. Hopefully we can have you back soon. I want to tell you guys that next week, I forgot to talk about WLMN Radio, but I stream exclusively beyond YouTube, beyond this page. My content is streamed by WLMN Radio. That's on a radio station in Grafton, West Virginia, but also they stream online. And we are actually going to have Roger on the show for a little bit next week, and he's going to talk about some cool new stuff going on over there and just be part of the conversation. Also next week, obviously next Tuesday, is the Apple announcement. So the iPhone 6 and maybe a wearable, who knows, might be announced next week.
I'm more excited for the hardware, dude. We got to talk about the new processors that Intel's hopefully pushing out.
Yeah, so maybe I'll bring you guys back at some point to talk about that, but next week, I know for sure that'll be the majority of my show, and then also whatever Roger wants to talk about. So come back next week, 7 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays. That's where you can find us live, but you can always find us after the fact on iTunes and any sort of podcast app you have. Just search Weager Tech, search Open Mic Night, and you'll find us there, and obviously on YouTube. So until I see you guys next week, tech on.